This video is over arithmetic series. An arithmetic series is formed by adding the terms of an arithmetic sequence. So rather than having to find, if we wanted to find the sum of the first 15 terms and having to find all 15 terms and then adding them, we have a sum formula. The sum formula is S sub n equals n times a sub 1 plus a sub n divided by 2, where S sub n is the sum of the terms. So 15 terms if we want to find the sum of the first 15, or maybe if it was 500, the sum of the first 500 terms. A sub 1, of course, is the first term. And a sub n is the nth term. That number changes. So if we want to find the sum of the 15 terms, it's going to be 15. If I said to find the sum of 82 terms, it would be 82. So here we go. We want to find S sub 15, and we have 25 plus 12 plus negative 1 plus negative 14. Well, first off, we need to know n is 15. Okay, we get that right there. It's the subscript of the S. Our first term, a sub 1, is 25. And then we need to know a sub 15. Well, we don't know it, so we have to find it. So that's where we use this explicit formula from arithmetic series or sequences. So what we need to know for that is the common difference. So over here, if I do 12 minus 25, I get negative 13. So that is my common difference. I'm going to plug in everything. I want to find a sub 15. My first term is 25 minus 13 times 15 minus 1. And we do just a little bit of math. So negative 13 times 14 is a negative 182. And we subtract 25 minus 182, and we get a negative 157. So that is my 15th term. Now that I know that, I can find the sum. So I have S sub 15 equals n is 15, and I'm just plugging every number into our formula, times the first term of 25 plus a sub n, which was a negative 157, divided by 2. So now you just start simplifying from here. So we have 15 times 25 plus a negative 157 is a negative 132 divided by 2. Then you divide by 2, so negative 132 divided by 2 is a negative 66. We multiply negative 66 by 15, we get a negative 990. So that would be the sum of the first 15 terms. That's a lot easier than listing out all 15 terms and then adding them up. Okay, so looking at the next one, find S sub 18 for 13 plus 2 plus negative 9 plus negative 20 plus ... It means it keeps going. I'm going to switch colors so they don't blend together. So n equals 18. The first term equals 13. My common difference, I take my second term and I subtract my first term. So I get negative 11 for a common difference, and we have to find a sub 18. We don't know that. So we use our explicit formula. So a sub 18 equals the first term, 13, minus the common difference of 11 times 18 minus 1. We start simplifying, you get 13 minus 11 times 17. 11 times 17 is a negative 187. I'm sorry, 11 times 17, I said 13. So 13 minus 187 is a negative 174, and that is a sub 18. Now that we know the 18th term, negative 174, we can plug it into the sum formula. So we're finding the sum of the first 18 terms. N is 18. My first term is 13 plus a negative 174 divided by 2. Okay, I start simplifying. I get 13 minus negative 174 is a negative 161. Divide that by 2. you get 18 times a negative 80.5. You multiply by 18, you get a negative 1,449 as S sub 18. And that would be it. That is the sum of the first 18 terms. Okay, looking at the next part, notice we have a new symbol. This symbol, I'm going to write it down here, is sigma. Sigma. It is a Greek uppercase letter. And it means the summation or the sum. So basically what we're doing. Okay, it looks a little scarier, but it's not too bad. I'm going to go ahead and switch colors again so it doesn't blend in. So with sigma, it tells you to find the sum of k equals 1 to 12, which means we need to know and find when k equals 1 and when k equals 12. So it gives us the explicit formula right there. All we have to do is plug in 1 and 12 for k and get those values, then plug it into our sum formula. So when k equals 1, I have 3 plus 4 times 1. I have 3 plus 4, which equals 7. So that is my first term because I plugged in 1. Then I plug in 12. 4 times 12 is 48, plus 3 is 51. And yes, that is my 12th term. From here, all I do is I plug it into the sum formula. So S sub 12, because it's 1 to 12, or you could count all the terms in between, equals 12 times 7 plus 51 divided by 2. Well, 12 times 7 plus 51 is 58 divided by 2. 58 divided by 2 is 29, so I have 12 times 29. And 12 times 29 is 348. So if I were to add the first 12 terms, that's what I would get. And that's really it. So it looks scary, but it's really not that bad. I'm going to go ahead and switch colors again so it doesn't blend together. So last example on this page, and then I have another page. So you should be following along in your foldable, or you can write everything down how it is. So we have the summation of k equals 1 to 15, and then our explicit formula is 5 plus 2k. So we will need to find when k equals 1 and when k equals 15. So we plug those values in. So 5 plus 2 times 1, 5 plus 2, which is 7. That is my first term. Now we plug in 15, 5 plus 2 times 15. Well, 2 times 15 is 30. 5 plus 30 is 35. That is my 15th term. And I just plug it into the sum formula from here. Okay, so the sum of the first 15 terms equals 15 times 7 plus 35 divided by 2. 7 plus 35 is 42 divided by 2. 42 divided by 2 is 21. And 21 times 15 is 315. And that equals S sub 15. And that's it. That's really, most of the lesson is using the formula. So also using the explicit formula and the new sum formula. So looking at the next one, we do have one word problem with 3 different parts. So let's go ahead and try this. So we have a center section of a concert hall that has 15 seats in the first row and 2 additional seats in each subsequent row. So we're adding 2 seats every row after the first one. So it tells us that A sub 1 is 15. It tells us our common difference is 2 because we're adding 2 seats and we start with 15 seats. So part A, we just want to know how many seats are in the 20th row. So that's where we have to use this formula from Arithmetic Series or sequences. So we're going to plug in what we know. We know the first term is 15 plus the common difference of 2. N is 20 because it's the 20th row minus 1. And then we just start simplifying from here. Okay, so we just start simplifying. So we have 15 plus 2 times 19. 19 times 2 is 38. 38 plus 15 is 53. So there are 53 seats in the 20th row. So that would be our final answer right there. Okay, part B, it says how many seats in total are there in the first 20 rows. So now we want to add up the first row, the second row, the third row, all the way to the 20th row. So we know how many seats we have. So we know how many people we can hold in a concert, at least in the middle section. So we are going to find S sub 20. So N is 20 times my first term of 15 plus the 20th row, which we got 53, divided by 2. So when we add those, we get 20 times 168, I'm making up numbers, 68 divided by 2. You multiply, or you divide, not multiply yet. So 20 times 32. And 32 times 20 is 680. So there are 680 total seats in the first 20 rows. And that's all there is to that. Okay, part C, it's how many seats in total would there be in the 14 rows? So just a different row number. So first we have to do A sub 14. So we have 15 plus 2 times 14 minus 1. 14 minus 1 is 13, so we have 15 plus 2 times 13. 2 times 13 is 26. 26 plus 15 is 41. So there's 41 seats in the 14th row, which makes sense because the 20th row has more than that. So cool. Means it's reasonable. Now we just have to find the sum of the 14 terms. So 14 rows. So we have 15 plus 41 divided by 2. 15 plus 41 is 56. 56 divided by 2 is 28, and 28 times 14 is 392. So there are 392 seats in the first 15 rows. Oh, 14 rows. Fix that, make it look more like a 14. And that's it. Now, looking at the next one, find the first 3 terms of the arithmetic sequence. So, notice this one, we're given some information and we need to be able to find the first 3 terms. So, we know n equals 12, S sub n equals 13, A sub n equals 13, S sub n equals a negative 42. So I'm going to plug in what I know into my sum formula. So I know S sub n is 42. I know n is 12. I do not know the first term, but I do know that A sub n is 13 divided by 2. So I'm going to solve for that first term. So first, I divide by 12. I get a negative 3.5 equals A sub 1 plus 13 divided by 2. I multiply both sides by 2. I get a negative 7 equals A sub 1 plus 13. I subtract 13 from both sides. I get negative 20 equals A sub 1. So we do know the first term is a negative 20. I'm going to write that right here, negative 20. I need to find the next two terms. But in order to find the next two terms, I need to know the common difference. So I need to use that explicit formula. Remember, it's up here. We used it in number 5. So I'm just going to plug in the values. So we have a sub n, which is 13, equal to the first term we just found to be negative 20. We don't know d. That's what we're solving for. N is 12 minus 1. So we just solve from here. We have 13 equals a negative 20 plus 11d. 12 minus 1 is 11 times d is 11d. We add 20 to both sides. We get 33 equals 11d divided by 11. D equals 3. Now that I know the common difference, I can just add that to my first term to get the next two because I just need the first three terms. So a sub 20, or sorry, negative 20 plus 3 is a negative 17, plus 3 is a negative 14. So this would be my final answer, negative 20, negative 17, negative 14. Now, looking at the last example, we're given the first term, the ninth, which is a sub 1 equals negative 9. That gave us part of our answer. It gave us a sub n and s sub n. We do need to change this value right here to 1608. So that does need to be changed if it hasn't been. So we have the sum formula. I'm going to start with that. So we have 1608 equal to, we don't know n this time, but we know the first term is negative 9 plus 411 divided by 2. So we just need to solve for n on this one. So negative 9 plus 411, that is a negative 402. So we have 1608 equals n times 402 divided by 2. We divide that, 1608 equals n times, divide by 2, you get 201. Now, this is where we struggle. The n and the 201 are being multiplied. In order to go to the other side, we have to divide both sides by 201. So I'm going to divide 201 on both sides, and 1608 divided by 201 is 8. N equals 8. Now that I know n, I can solve for the common difference. So I have a sub n equals 411 equals our first term of negative 9 plus d times 8 minus 1. So we just start simplifying to solve for d. So 411 equals negative 9 plus 7d. I add 9 to both sides. I get 420 equals 7d. When I divide both sides by 7, d equals 60. So I have to add 60 each time. So my first term is negative 9. That was a given. Plus 60 is 51. Plus 60 is 111. So that would be my first three terms. So I hope this video was helpful for arithmetic series, and I'll be back later to talk about geometric sequences and series.